Today's guest is Kirk McCauley of American Engineering and Metalworking out of North Canton, Ohio.
He's got deep convictions about how a business ought to be run.
It's definitely different, right? It's what we're doing is going to be something people are going to, what's he up to, right? My personal belief is, we got to be one-stop shop and not say no.
Manufacturing and metalworking professionals across Canada, get ready. Don't miss the chance to connect with industry leaders, explore cutting-edge innovations, and gain insights to grow your business. This spring, the Metalworking and Manufacturing Expos are coming to 3 different cities across Canada. Check out the website for upcoming dates and locations. Register now at metalworkingexpo.com. And now, back to the episode.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis of the Fabricator magazine, and this dude is
Lincoln Bruner, Tube and Pipe Journal, and sometimes the Fabricator.
Thank you for joining us today, Lincoln. In this episode, we're recording at the FMA annual meeting in Chandler, Arizona, and today's guest is Kirk McCauley of American Engineering and Metalworking out of North Canton, Ohio, and really thoughtful guy. He believes in doing things his way, which is kind of interesting, but very humble in the way that he approaches, his business.
Yeah, he's very intent on doing things his way. He's not a my way or the highway type of guy, though. He's just very dedicated to his staff, his team over there in North Canton, and but he's got deep convictions about how a business ought to be run.
Yeah,
a big believer in having people know exactly what's going on inside these manufacturing facilities like his.
It's very flat. He's got a lot of, you can tell he communicates with his team really well. And talked about, hey, make sure that you're giving your people bonuses when you can. Quarterly bonus checks mean a lot to everyday working people. So do that way whenever you can.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of a culture kind of taking its energy from the people that lead the organization.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes steps to enhance that, obviously. But he works in a place that I think he'd probably want to work at. Yeah. And I don't know if there's any better way to approach creating a welcoming culture. Having said that, I wanted to touch upon our Fabricator of the Year award winner, Specialty Products and Manufacturing. While here at the annual meeting, they received the formal trophy presentation, not quite as big as the Heisman Trophy presentation, but nonetheless, a nice evening where they were able to kind of share some of their appreciation for what the Fabricator and other metal fabricators do in the industry. And they have a great culture as well.
Yeah.
I visited there in December during their Christmas celebration, which might have been a little awkward.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was like, I'm a sideshow. They got stuff to do. So, they're providing breakfast for, 80, 90 people. And there's a finite amount of room in the break room. So everybody's kind of cycling through. And, I'm hanging out trying not to get in the way. But, that's just one example. You can't build a culture on free food, although it does help. The title of the story that we ran in February was Leaders at Every Level. And, getting people to, buy in makes it sound cheap, but, act as almost the owner of the business. If they see something wrong, they correct it. It's an incredible power to have, even in this age of automation. So it would have been fun to have this conversation with the folks at SPM, but you might know a person by the name of Ed Udell, who is president of our organization, and
he will.
He's higher on the pecking order of podcasts.
So he's talking to Nora Harding from SPM.
Yeah, so tune into that episode. I think
we're happy for you, Ed. We are.
Nora brings another person that brings an energy to her workplace, and she was given the ability to kind of make decisions and set up her company according to the way that she thought was needed. And when given the ability to kind of do what you think you need to do and not have someone totally watching over your back, that's pretty powerful.
Well, and they kind of set the tone early when they hired her. They said, "Look, we need you, right? We really value your expertise. We know you were working in the water industry. We don't care. We care about who you are and the leadership abilities you have. And yeah, this is a family-owned company. We kind of have a legacy thing going, but we want you. We need you." And it sounds like it's worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah, no, it's transition is not easy for any family company, but to feel like you've made that successful transition is that's not an automatic green light for 20 years of success, but at least you don't feel like decisions and legacy are necessarily going to be a negative moving forward.
Right. Well, especially when you give someone the latitude they gave to Nora. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got a recipe for success there.
SPM was honored in a pretty nice venue last night.
Yes,
Yeah.
they received their trophy on stage at
The showroom.
at
Wild Horse Casino.
Gila River Resort and
Casinos.
Casinos. So I was actually making the presentation on the very stage Lisa Loeb will occupy in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And Eddie Griffin.
Eddie Griffin after that. So I hope you get to enjoy the incredible talents that are coming after me.
Yeah. They call that the trifecta, the Dan Davis, Eddie Griffin, Lisa Loeb
Yeah,
trifecta.
I'm selling out lunchrooms throughout America. I'm available for entertainment. If you like your kindergarten class to be read the occasion night before Christmas, I am your man. It's about as much talent as I can bring.
Yeah, you're good at crashing Christmas parties. So
Yeah, apparently so.
And breakfast.
There you go. All right, well, stay tuned for this episode with Kirk McCauley of AEM, and we think you'll enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Attention marketers and advertisers. Want to reach the manufacturing industry more effectively? Don't miss FMA's free Marketing and Advertising Summit happening June 25th in Elgin, Illinois. Gain exclusive industry insights and network with marketing leaders. Learn from top experts and discover cutting-edge strategies to maximize your brand's impact. Spots are limited. Register now at fmamfg.org. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We're speaking with Kirk McCauley of American Engineering and Metalworking. Kirk is known to a lot of people in the FMA family because, you participate in the FMA annual meeting and sit on some committees with FMA, and we greatly appreciate your involvement. And thanks for joining on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So give us an idea of your background and how you came to own your own metal fabricating facility.
Well, prior to schooling, I would say, I've always been a gearhead and a metal guy from a little kid standpoint, and my grandfather was a mechanical genius, I'd say, and skilled with his hands, and I was fortunate to rub elbows with him and grow up and be raised by a guy like that, and gave me the gift of working with my hands. And my father was an entrepreneur, was not good with his hands, so I got to be blessed being under an entrepreneur as well. And the passion that I always had was creating things and building things and making things. And I love manufacturing as well. And my gearhead kind of talents turned into welding when I was really young, being around farming, being around, the gearhead stuff, and took that into cars and did some moonlight stuff in college of making things. And it's kind of quickly spilled into, maybe this is a path for me to do something in my career. Maybe manufacturing is where I want to go. So after college, I went to work at a big, at that time, approaching $1 billion, company, and went in there in a manufacturing engineering role, and got to take a company, it exploded in growth, and got to build some factories, got to be around big press brakes and really unique metal forming stuff and CapEx stuff, and building some really, really neat stuff. And then after that, I was able to transition, into the smaller business stuff, because my mind was kind of narrowing down to where I was going as starting. And I went into I've always loved tool and die, and I love manufacturing, love, what we do in our great country, with factories and equipment and that. And so went into more tooling and die design, and worked for a really great small company with the intent of buying it, with the intent of taking it over. It was an opportunity for a company that the fellow didn't really have any legacy plans, and I thought that might be the spot for me. And we quickly worked out that it wasn't. But the silver lining is a great friend, mentor, and coach to me, and a customer. And he's, we're mutual, helping each other all the time. Person when I started AEM. So it's kind of a little background to us getting started. So
Yeah. So did you feel like you were predestined to kind of own your own operation eventually?
yeah, well, being around my father, it inspired me.
Yeah.
What kind of businesses was your father running?
Graphics and printing.
Okay.
So far different than what we all do in this room.
Yeah, but a lot of family-owned type businesses, involved in that area.
Right. And just being in Ohio and that's what our communities do. We make stuff.
What did you learn from your dad in terms of running a business and taking risk?
Man, coming from, my grandfather worked in a steel mill as a electrician in a millwright, and coming from a steel mill family, and watching my dad, take that blue collar family to the moon, that was inspiration. And the guy, just what he accomplished, how quick he accomplished it, was incredible, and absolute persistent, tireless nature. And when you're around people like that, it's pretty hard not to absorb it, and he's a beacon for me.
How did you make the transition from almost having an opportunity in tool and die and then getting into the fabricating end of things?
Impatience.
There's something to be said for that.
Did you see opportunity in fabricating?
Absolutely. So the tool and die at that time, Asia was really coming on strong.
So it was like the early 2000s?
Mm-hmm. And they were just attacking our manufacturing, right? Worse than they are now.
Right.
Like they really, back then, it was the world's going to come to an end.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they had something to prove.
Right. And remember, I was, tool and die, higher volume, automotive, non-automotive, mostly stamping kind of stuff, and building precision tools. And, that was getting attacked. The tool business was getting attacked by multiple countries for making tools and just sending them here for running in a factory in America. Then the whole part, obviously, same thing. And meanwhile, that shop was pretty unique that I worked at. Was they had older, at the time they were, older lasers. The guy was a pioneer in EDM and laser that I worked for, and he used the lasers to develop his blanks for the stamping process.
Huh.
So, rapid prototyping.
A little bit ahead of his time.
Strip development and that. He really jumped in. When Mitsubishi came to the United States, he was one of the first people that jumped on CO2 stuff. It gave him an edge of being able to rapid prototype, rapid build tools. Well, having that competence, then he saw what I knew about fab from my prior career. And we kind of took that and saying, well, we're going to get out of the tool mode because we want to maybe make some finished parts, maybe get a press brake, kind of just use what he had to leverage to make, more revenue. And through that, when your core business is making a tool,
yeah,
it stays making it. And it was hard for me to get the transition. But meanwhile, to answer your question in a roundabout way, there on my desk, there was just a stack of opportunities that I saw that were just, that's too low volume. Oh, that's this, oh, that's that. I'm like, there is a pile of business. There's just a huge business right here. There's just a huge business in this short run. At the time, he called it short run stamping. It really wasn't fabricating.
Right.
Right. And the fabricators weren't stampers. They were welding shops that got lasers. And so I saw this crossover point where it's like, well, do something more than a fabricator does, but then, kind of compete of low volume work that a stamper doesn't want. And we have a lot of stampers that are our customers that we do short run stuff for them that's scraps that they don't want. They get a big job, they get a big customer, and they need us to help them on small stuff. And then we do a lot of design work where we incubate parts, right? It might start as a concept, and then I take it to one of my customers and say, hey, they're overwhelming me. This isn't lasers and press brakes anymore. This is big time stamping stuff. So, hey, I'm going to introduce you to company ABC.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to kind of recount because, it was only 20 years ago
Yeah.
that, we're talking about, and just the pace of change since then it's crazy. So in a way, I mean, do you consider yourself like a kind of a forerunner of like modern metal fabricating in a way?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say, in hindsight, yeah. I mean, I just had the youth and the drive in probably, being naive, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's what fabricating was. When I went to Fab Tech when I was, I think the first Fab Tech I was 16, 17. I got in there bootleg, not supposed to be there till you're 18, I believe, but
Right.
I got in there when I was 16. Never missed one, ever, to today. And it just.
Do you remember
goosebumps.
where it was? Was
Cleveland,
it
Ohio. Cleveland,
Yeah,
Cleveland,
the
Ohio.
Ag
Because
Center.
obviously our shops,
Mhm.
my home and everything's an hour and change away from there. So,
Right.
so yeah, I, under my dad's printing company, got some badges and snuck in there. Yeah.
Did you go with your dad?
No, one of my dad's graphics guys.
Okay.
That was a gearhead too.
So you really broke the rules. You didn't
Yeah.
even go with your dad. That's
Yeah. So
That's
it was
funny.
it was something, and to go in there and see the machines, and even like Chicago when I was a kid, when the stamping world was tighter with FMA, down the basement of the McCormick place, there was 2,000-ton Minsters in there.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
like, who would rig a 2,000-ton Minster to go to a show now? It's so cost prohibitive, but they did back then, and it was for a kid to see that and look up,
Yeah.
I'd be like, wow, I'd never seen anything like this in my life. I mean, it gives you goosebumps.
And
Right.
the noise of those presses. I remember that.
Do you think kids today would react to the same type of scale if they were like introduced to it? Like
Yep.
some of the stuff is very I don't awe-inspiring, maybe too much, but I mean there's a definite, especially bigger. It definitely catches your attention at the very least.
I feel a huge shortcoming in raising America's kids, right? The future of our working economy, right? Is they don't get to see stuff.
Yeah.
They don't, especially small towns, right? Or I mean, maybe even inner cities, whatever. Slice it any way you want, but unless you know somebody,
Yeah.
Mhm.
neighbor Bob, he does this or whatever. Somebody gets you in somewhere, you get to see it or you hear about it, in family stuff. But I think every kid should get to go to manufacturing tours. And I know with the safety world, it's tough, but I always encourage, trade schools for sure. But even before that, like my boys are 9 and 12, and to get them, to ride the floor scrubber around and
Yeah.
climb around, see what I'm doing. We move our own machines. We do a lot of, dirty job stuff, and for my kids to see like what we're doing, and they're like, wow, man, they have kind of a normalcy to it now.
Right.
But like back to your question, like, take a kid and show them that, I farm as well. And, my boys, they're used to seeing a 340 horsepower tractor at my farm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. But one of their buddies come over to play, like literally go play in the woods at our farm.
Yeah.
They go into our machine shop and the farm machinery shop, and they see a real big working John Deere, and they're mesmerized, right? They've never
Right.
seen it in their life. So that impact, that impression, right, is life changing for somebody.
It's intrinsically mesmerizing when you're a little boy and you're looking at this gigantic machine. You want to know how it works.
Right.
I mean, you just want to know what makes that thing go and how does
Right.
that work? I mean, it's
Right. Starts with a Tonka, right? Or starts
I
with
started Tonka. I
Right.
mean, I remember
Legos, whatever.
my dad's, he grew up with a John Deere A.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, they would pull that thing out. It still ran, and hook up the PTO and the big belt for like this is how we ran the thresher. This is how we ran the.
And our country was built on that, right? Like, go back to pioneer days. It was built on
Yeah.
people working with their hands and learning and doing and surviving, right?
Right.
But if we lose that, not showing people what happens in this world, we're going to have a bunch of shallow people that really don't have any depth to go do something great, like the FMAs, everybody in our great society. Right?
Yeah.
Like when people see what we do, I mean, you guys are exposed to the outside of bringing in people that have not, whether it's a speaker that we saw today, but when they see one of our machines run, or they see like they're making parts for something I have in my house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, right?
I was in a conversation the other day with someone whose parents were involved in glass manufacturing and, retired from it, had a great career, and they had the opportunity to go see a metal fabricating and they had no idea, even though they're in a form of manufacturing, just the gap between just different forms of manufacturing. People just don't know. Until you see it. It's like one of those things, see it to believe it.
My customers' products. I mean, it just, again, gives me goosebumps to see what our customers make, right?
Yeah.
We service so many businesses, and one that's like the glass analogy you said there. We have a customer that makes cans, like can making machinery.
Okay. Yeah.
Stamping beer cans, pop cans, soup cans, any type of can, right, that we would use in life. And the volume and speed that's made at.
Oh,
Yeah.
It is unbelievable to see one run.
Yeah. No.
How many cans, soup cans, whatever you call it, they're filling dumpsters like in seconds. They hold the dual palms down,
Yeah.
and a dumpster's full in seconds.
Yeah. The amount of metal fabricators that are involved, servicing the food processing industry.
Right.
So I like to think every time I open up a bag of chips, I'm helping manufacture.
Right.
You've helped a lot of manufacture.
And guess what? What you're doing, it's not going away.
Yeah. No.
We
no.
have to continue to be able to make this stuff, because eating's not.
Yeah.
So that's not going to go away.
Well, I think that, and it kind of harkens back to, manufacturing at the not turn of the century, but since the very forming of this country, that, it was always local. And then we went through our globalization phase, but now it's kind of like returning to, made in North America at the very least. It seems to be desire close to your customers. So, it does give you hope that maybe the message is getting out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your shop currently. What do you do, and how many people work with you?
So our company's 40 strong now. It's in North Canton, Ohio, just south of Cleveland, and we just processes wise, before I get into where we're at today, laser blanking, flat blanking, high powered lasers, and many multi-axis press brakes, all loaded kind of press brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Panel bending, CNC panel bending technology. We have some hydraulic stamping presses that we do kind of the Frankenstein stuff with that I talked about earlier. In-house machining, in-house tool and die making, and weld fixture making, 3D printing technologies, anything rapid we can do. Welding, it's kind of like Bubba Gump with the shrimp thing. I mean, name some kind of welding, our company probably does it, and including laser welding. We're
Wow.
very, very excited about it. We've been in laser welding pushing 3 to 4 years now.
No kidding. Wow.
Rough guess. And early adopter of the hand welding, took it into cobotics, and now that we've expanded the business, we're putting in more hand welding systems, and going into full robotics.
Wow.
For laser welding. It's so I don't know, it's such a good fit with metal manufacturing, right? Sheet metal, thinner gauge. It's not ready for the plate guys. It's not, you're not going to make a part for a bulldozer on a laser welder.
It seems like your investments have prepared you to have that laser welding, because obviously you need the precision of fit when it comes to that technology.
Right. So yeah, this is all, to somebody that, is where I was 20 years ago, and today, I mean, it's insurmountable. How do I get to that mountain, right? How do what goes first? How do you do that? And
Kirk, we talk with a lot of people about a lot of different technologies, but it seems like you've over the years, just from what you've kind of ticked off there on your list of machinery, it seems like you've been looking forward to the next thing, kind of as a rule.
Yeah.
I mean, you got CNC panel benders. We don't talk to an overwhelming number of people who have invested in that, but I mean, it's cool technology. What do you have as your MO that allows you and your leadership team to sort of like use that as your approach? You know what I mean? It's kind of,
for like next steps.
for the next step, for looking down the road, just just a little bit farther than perhaps most people do.
Kind of to capstone the previous ask there. After welding, I didn't mention powder coating, right? So we have a conveyorized powder coating line. We've been in that more than 10 years, and we're pretty darn good at it. But that full service and one-stop shop
Right.
analogy is the goal, right? Like it's a must, I think. There's several people that I know that don't subscribe to that are very, very successful, that are here today. But my personal belief is, we gotta be one-stop shop and not say no.
Right.
Why is that? Why do you feel so deeply about that?
Because in today's world, with communication, punctuality of need, you have to, we become very reliable for our customers. It's something that is very important to me, and having access to everybody in our company, including me 7 days a week, and the needs of our customers just keep getting more and more demanding, right? And they don't have the experts in house. They don't have the capabilities in house. So, they rely on us to build it, do it, invest in it. And I have to be ahead of them, right? I have to teach them about panel bending. Like, that's one of the things we're doing right now. Panel bending is probably the newest thing that I brought in the last year. And we do lunch and learns. We're teaching our customers different ways to bend now.
Different ways to...
And to drive cost, to your question, your last question, like, how do we decide that? Well, it's all about driving costs down. It's about, Dan and I have talked in years prior, like cost per part, like whether it's blanking, bending, machining, it's all about being competitive cost per part.
Yeah.
And be able to assemble that, right? Not truck it, not add value that's non-value added, right? Like, just add the value as efficiently as you can and give your customer the most. And the belief in that is that they're going to move, they're going to grow, right? If we're ultra competitive, more competitive than, say, my customer's competitor in wherever, Texas, right? The fab shop that's doing work for them, if my company's more competitive than theirs, we're a good partner, and both of us are going to go faster and further.
Well, it does put the onus on you in terms of design too, right? I mean, it's like, you got to design around these technologies that you have. Is that a challenge?
It absolutely is. And, we have to know, right? We have to be all knowing of these machines and tools and lineups of things and how to do things. But that's what we're hired to do. We're not just welding service. We're not just, Bob's fabricating, whatever, it's more than that. Dan said our name in the beginning. And when I founded the company, I knew that design and knowledge was really important. It was dire to teach our customers what we do. And I see more and more of it as this youth thing in the prior conversation we just had. Like, we have to get people to see what we do. And these lunch and learns that I'm doing with our customers, I wish I could do one every day, and really get, all walks of life in our customers' building, whether it's a finance person, whether it's a salesperson, like, get everyone in there and see what the machines do. It's not about it's just the engineers. I mean, they have to bless what we design. They have to bless what we help them with, right? Because they know their product, and we don't know the safety requirements, the strengths, and that. We just, it's more of a recommendation, more of an advisor, right? Of how to make things better and at less cost.
So is the lunch and learn customer specific, or you might have multiple customers on at one time?
No. We kind of get I like kind of five. Five's a pretty good number, because 6 or more, you get 10 people in, you got people on their phones and they're zoning out, and it's, watch me, look at this machine. They'll walk by something and not even see it. And then usually the person that's the most astute and the most engaged in the conversation will stop me and be like, hey, guys, see what he's doing right here? See what he's doing on this other customer? This is for medical industry, but we could put this on a truck, or we could put this, in food service thing,
So did you buy the panel bender for one type of product, like a panel or a box of some kind, or is it more just the automation that it allows then gauge metal forms?
Well, it came out of scale. It came for one of our key customers. is in the architectural space.
Oh, okay.
And these mega buildings, whether it's a hospital or, university building, whatever be it, they have a lot of metal in them.
And most of them are probably powder coated, right?
Yeah, so if it's exposed in the exterior, right, there's glass and, metal, right? But then there's fireproofing, there's all kinds of pieces in these buildings,
A lot
right?
of boxes, a lot of metal boxes. Yeah, enclosures.
My customer called and they said, hey, we're got this big deal for Yale. It's a mega building, $1 billion building. Wow. There was 8,000 4x8 sheets of 20 gauge galvanized that had 8 bends in them. They said, we're going to need shoulders and we're going to have worn out press brakes, right? YMCA, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's not happening with it. Fastest press brake doesn't matter. I mean, it's the strenuous, even though you're lifting a, 40-pound sheet of 20 gauge galvanized, it's doing
8,000 of them.
Right.
times 8 bends, right? Right. I mean, and by the way, we got 6 months to get all that done.
Wow.
Right. So I said, hey, a customer calls, this is happening. By the way, after that, Cleveland Clinic's next. And it's this big right behind it. And after that, this is just going to keep going. And the necessity of it was our customer was getting killed on freight, getting killed on inventory because some of the people that specialize in that in the architectural space, they want you to take it all. I mean, there's semis coming,
No
right?
kidding. Wow.
Right. Yeah. So there's thousands of these panels coming. Well, as they're making their finished product, they want to ration it, right? I mean, they're no different than Honda or Toyota or any manufacturer. Right? Deliver it right at JIT. We're gonna build it, and it's going on a truck. We're getting the heck off our property, right? And so, us being close to this customer, I explained to him, like, we can do this, but I can't do it at the scale you want it done. And do you want to go to Chicago and you want to see one of these things run? I said, I got to spend, $800,000 plus quickly. And you need to come in and you need to really tell me that we're serious about this, because this is not a late investment for me. And he said, let's do it. And I think it was 3 days later, we were in Schaumburg, looked at it. We weren't there an hour. He goes, that's what you need, do it. Right? And that's how panel bedding started.
Wow.
So it's obviously not a one-job machine. I mean, but you knew Cleveland Clinic was coming, and you knew other business.
We had to do that for our customer, for them to be able to meet their schedule. And you don't want to mess up with the GC, right? You don't want to be the guy that shuts down a crane. You don't want to be the guy that shuts down a hospital project. It's brutally expensive.
So are you able to do other stuff on there? Maybe like migrate stuff from the brake to it, or is it all pretty much this?
Well, yeah, it's no different than the laser welding, right? We're taking TIG welding and going to laser welding, right? Because it's so much faster, right? And it's the same thing. We're preying on our own business. And the press brakes we're giving the press brake look like, my folks, my superstar team, I have a phenomenal, and we need to touch on that because it's so important in the conversation. My team is just, I got the best, the best 40 people, 39 people. They're phenomenal, and they have an eye for it. I bring it in, they get a little obstinate, they get a little, questioning attitude, like, what the heck's he doing here? But then when the wheels start turning, they're like, we get it. We totally get it, right? So to get back into that, like, we preyed on our own work. We do a lot of work in power generation world, and the gauge metal and power generation enclosures and things like that. It's flooding the panel bender to the point where we got to buy another one. Yeah.
So how are you set for room?
So we just built a new building
In North Canton?
Yeah. So I'm not moving. We're going to like a campus style environment. So more business unit-esque. And in campus-esque, it doesn't make a lot of sense to most people because, some of the world-class stuff you guys see now, it's these mega factories, right? You got,
right,
everything hooked together, everything connected, in and out. And nimbleness-wise, think of one of these 150,000 square foot really good fabricators that are here. My opinion is they're like an aircraft carrier, and it's really hard to turn them.
Mm-hmm.
And my team even though I make it miserable for them, and because of the way I tell we got to take care of customers and that, like, they get it, they know why, even though it's tough for us, right? It's tough for us to stop what we're doing to make one part to go in a car to a job site at Yale College because our customer needs it, right? There's no amount of money you get paid to stop what you're doing and change over, but we have to, right? So back to where we're changing the factory layout is we're kind of making centers for excellence. And our current building's 50,000 feet, and the building I built is 25,000 feet. And it's very specific in why I did that. But I'm calling that facility ICBM, Integrated Cutting, Bending, and Manufacturing.
So
All right.
nothing like the other one.
But I think it sounds cool.
Yeah, there you
It does,
go.
well, it sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Especially if you put up a cool sign. But no.
You're right. Maybe make something that looks, our logo kind of looks like it's streaming, so maybe something like a little subtly. So what we're trying to do is, tighten up the team, and get, cutting and bending is peanut butter and jelly. When you look at the lineup of things we do, cutting and bending usually happens, right? So that's kind of a grope, right? Chapter 1, right? And what we do, and then maybe it sprawls out into chapter 3, 4, 5, whatever. But most parts have those pedigrees in them that come through our shop, and so I'm kind of building a center for excellence there, doing something way different than the smart factory term that's you guys write about and talk about.
Right. You I mean, you've used the phrase, smart factory on a budget, right?
Yeah. It's definitely different, right? It's what we're doing is going to be something people are going to, what's he up to, right? I mean, we're not just going to go to a manufacturer of machine tools and spend $25 million and say, bolt it down, in a year or 2 years. We need it done in 2 years. So it's something we're going to be able to do faster, and kind of using the analogy like the Liberty ships in World War II. We're building a faster version of it, and it'll be portable. Something that we can put one in Charlotte, we can put one in, Houston, wherever somebody wants one. But for now, it's the incubators in Ohio, and we're going to see. We're going to see if it pans out and how my team adopts it.
We actually have a column coming in the June Tube and Pipe Journal about smart factory on a budget, because I think the time has come for people to really be thinking about that.
Yeah. Your shop does have automation in quite a few spaces, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how I'm going to integrate is a lot different than what we've seen before, right? How we're going to do it, and software plays a huge role in it, and how we're going to handle the material, and that world has changed so much, and it's changing faster than anything I think in our space, right? Is the technology of moving things.
Right.
We've seen.
And do you have interest in that?
Absolutely.
No kidding. I think that scares a lot of people.
I think it's just getting easier and easier and easier. And an automated autonomous forklift was something that a 40-person company, you could never even think about it, right? 5 years ago, it was cost prohibitive.
And now it's being touted by every lift manufacturer.
Right. And the cost of, the world's, hovering around it and adopting it really quick. And, people are figuring out how to produce that stuff way less money, and cobotics, just go down the line, right? AGVs, AMRs, and it, what I want to apply from that is it's, obviously, really fundamental that someone like Toyota or a world-class manufacturer has that, right?
Right.
It's kind of almost, I won't say boring, but it's, expected, right? Like you go in one of their factories, you better see that, right? Honda factory, whatever. But in my world, it's how do you use that to drive your costs down and do one, right? Like the challenge is always one piece flow, right? One piece flow, right? One piece flow. I talk about it all the time. And how do we apply that technology to reduce our cost?
Well, it's exciting now because the automation technology has become so much more accessible for smaller shops smaller than the big boys. But I mean, you've got an incredible amount of need among small and medium manufacturers to integrate automation wherever they can now, right?
Yep.
Because if they don't, they're going to very quickly get left behind.
Absolutely. And it's happening really, I think your vantage point in your role in our industry, you probably see it more than ever, like the spread that's happening. The old shops they're really falling fast, right?
Yeah, it's, we're here at this conference and you're hearing a presenter saying that, he comes across shops where, they're setting rates according to Reddit articles. And it's the gap between a shop like yours where, you've taken steps to remove the non-value added, the guy shaking and breaking, parts from a sheet. It has to catch up sooner or later. It's just a matter of people connecting, and I think this is in general. These manufacturers connecting with a shop they can work with, build with, find whatever it is that kind of makes their relationship work. And just to back up a little bit, I find it interesting. You start your career in the world of high volume, large machinery. We're going to invest in this press, and that press is built to be here 200 years. But now you're in a situation where slowly added automation, we're not going to do it all at once, but yet the idea of a smart factory is almost as monolithic as that giant press.
Right.
So, the discussion of automated material movement made me think of that. You've built an entire system around a giant automation, storage, and retrieval system with autonomous mobile robots, but yet now we have autonomous forklifts that maybe are a lot more affordable and reliable as well. It's how do you draw that line between too much automation and flexibility?
Well, that's I guess my theory of what I'm going behind.
Yeah,
is don't bolt down that 2,000-ton stamping press and do that in terms of automation, right? The big storage systems might not be what the future wants. It's once that's put in a factory, it's like that 2,000-ton press. I mean, it's
right.
You got to rip the building down to tear down in one of these big retrieval systems, right? The big storage systems. They're quite an investment, and you're married to them forever. And as the software world changes, it's a legacy problem for all the manufacturers that are here in our activity today. That's a big challenge for them. That the customer's going to spend easy 7 figures for it. And then what happens in 5 years, right? When a new type of cutting technology comes out, or software, it's what always seems to turn fabricating equipment to me into dinosaurs is software. We don't wear them out, right? It's not
talking to the
can't
right.
talk, right?
Wow.
And on the software world, that's another big change that we'll probably talk about today in our other meeting. But I really, really think that software and talking and open API, it's really changing. It's really changing.
Are you able to work around those machine tool builders that aren't kind of open to the concept? Or is there technology that allows you to kind of cheat a little bit?
Can you guys hit the bleep button? I'm gonna ramble here, and it's gonna be bad. Very frustrating, and we do business on the machine tool side with the biggest and the best, and I lock horns with them all the time on it. I'm like, you guys aren't software people. You want to be software people? Don't do it. Let this nimble company do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're the aircraft carrier. Just keep making good equipment, and let us talk.
But make the step files readable by these guys.
Let us talk, right? Let us choose in and out, right? Inputs. It's all inputs and outputs, right? Every process in our shop's inputs and outputs. From taking an order, talking to a customer, shipping and things, it's inputs and outputs. And if they're blocking the inputs and outputs, they're stopping progress. And Windows controls, 15 years ago, that started, right? That was kind of like wait a minute, we got this non-proprietary control now, and then all of a sudden now we can talk, and then wow, here's this open API thing. Like, wow, we can. It's really exciting, right? We can started IoT. It's the fundamental thing for everything we talk about with data and information, right?
Do you see IoT being a big deal with like the concept of, say, a material storage unit, like talking with a machine tool and so on and so forth, so that these new technologies are automatically going to be able to speak to one another in a way that drives costs down?
Absolutely. You know, knowing what you have, right? That's the most obvious one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why should we count something if something can be counted for us, right?
Right.
With a device, right? Apple device, an Android device, couple clicks, couple webhooks, couple APIs. Why count, right?
Well, it's interesting because I've heard, we've talked about a lot, the confluence of a lot of newer technology, cobotics, laser welding, like the advanced material handling systems that a lot of machine tool builders are integrating into a lot of their machines, but also can be, added on as need be. And we've got a confluence here now, right? And it seems like kind of an exciting time for even a small to medium business to be getting in on automation, because it seems like a lot of things now, they really do work.
Yeah.
They work well. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. And, my contention on that topic is those who open are going to win this battle. The manufacturers, right? The closed manufacturers eventually going to lose.
Yeah.
He's going to lose.
And, you've worked with some, I guess, newcomers to the industry. So, I mean, you're willing to put forth that effort and do a company or individual you think you see.
I'll bet on him.
Yeah. And we were talking before we started recording with your ERP type of investment and relationship that you have. Is that kind of what you see in other areas? And have you had such successful relations?
Absolutely.
And can you provide us with an example?
Well, with this AMR thing, right? How many AMRs are at last year's FabTech, right? How much, somebody had a booth, specifically related to AMRs, right? So, you got to jump out of our world because you can't fit everything in Orlando or Chicago or Vegas or wherever we're going to go. So at that point, we have to seek other industries, other technologies, other shows, other people, other groups, right? With related to like
ProMat or something like that.
Yeah, automate.
Automate, yeah.
Automate. That's just automates. Yeah, everybody should go to automate.
Right. Yeah.
It's exploding. I didn't get to go last year. I sent my engineering team there. They came back, their heads were spinning. They're like, Kirk, they got AMRs that have cobots on them. They can drive up to the press brake. We don't even need we don't need a robotic press brake. You just buy this AMR with a cobot on it, and it drives up and it reaches behind it and grabs a blank and bends it. Like,
yeah,
we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exciting, right? That's exciting to us to be able to do it the way we want to do it, right? And then it's also exciting to the 5-person shop that has a 10-year-old press brake that says, we need a robotic solution, but we can't afford it. Like, we can't go spend $750,000.
And now you can.
Yeah, and now you can go, hey, we're going to buy this cobotic AMR. You're going to throw some parts on it, and it's going to drive over to your press brake and bend them, It's not that far away. It could happen tomorrow if you little effort, right?
Yeah.
But in a lot of people's minds, it's very Star Wars, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, there's this droid, and it's going to drive them. Like, yeah. But number one, you can learn it in a week or two. And
So automate, I don't think I saw anything like in front of a press brake or something, but they're starting to have in booths humanoid robots. And some people believe that you're only looking at a 10 to 15 year window before, I think with that comes, expense to invest. But, all that stuff works its way down eventually. And then what is that time pattern? I don't know, but
Right.
yeah, there's people a lot smarter than me that think it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
And to be clear about all this too, my team, it's the goal, absolute goal. It's not to get rid of anybody in that company. It's to push us all up.
Right,
Mhm.
Right? It's to push us all up. And I want them to embrace it and them to take it to the moon. Right? I want 40 people that put out double the work that we put out today.
But I
with
think
less effort.
Yeah, I think you've grown without necessarily just throwing bodies, right?
Right.
And that seems to be like a unifying theme with a lot of shops nowadays. To the point where it's not even that. They're actually doing more with fewer people.
That's
and
right.
It's not like they weeded out because everybody knows the need to have. You want to keep your good people. Yeah, it's been like retirement, natural attrition in many instances.
Attrition is such now that that's not a problem.
But another it's just a reason for this for me is, I love everybody that works in our company. They mean the world to me, what they've done. And, I've been blessed with a wife that's a superstar in business, and we do very well as a team. She has a superstar income outside of what we do at AEM, and I can give back to my team, right? So doing all this and investing all this, then I can, my goal is not to say like, okay, we're going to produce at less cost. It's like, no, we're a team. I can give you a bigger bonus. We're doing quarterly bonuses. Like, how can I do more, right? It's about, pushing everybody there, but also, hey, it's for all our own good, and we're all going to prosper, right? And I don't necessarily need it. My pay is the success of our company, right? Like that means more to me than taking a paycheck home.
Yeah.
I love this.
I think that's makes for a good environment. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So really interesting topic from your shop perspective. Do you feel the same for the industry? I mean, does all this capabilities with advanced technology bode well for an American manufacturing economy? And the second part of that, is there enough stuff to go around to keep all these folks kind of busy, you think?
Yeah.
There's a need for it, I guess.
So first facet to that question is demographics. I mean, that's the demographics of our country and aging population, in any developed nation is a big problem, right? So, baby boomers, we've read about it for the last 10 years, right? Well, obviously it's happening and continuing to happen, but that's a huge chunk of productivity that's leaving our manufacturing world, right? So,
and we're getting the easiest part of it. Yeah.
And then back to our, tying all this stuff we're talking about together, the youth, right? Who's coming into manufacturing, right? Like, how many shops have we talked to, people that are here today? There's no one to take it over. There's no one to take it over, and they're doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And, sad, but it's reality, right? So to answer your question, I think onshoring, and just demographics are two topics that in my lifetime are going to drive, the necessity for what we do and not have any surplus of capacity in our country. I mean, there's a lot of capacity of what we do, and obviously as we advance, the manufacturers advance machines, we're making staggering more amounts of everything, whether it's cutting, whether it's software. I mean, think about the things we're processing with software faster, how fast our company enters jobs versus how we did it 5 years ago, right? That's all getting more productive. But the hope for me is just do more of it, right? Bring more work in. People don't have to work harder. It's just a different stride, right?
Yeah. Do you think your younger version of yourself would be amazed at it's only been like 20, a little over 20 years.
Yeah, it comes up a lot, especially with, I don't know what the right word is people know me as a little guy, an elder kind of person, like, did you ever think? And I'm like, I don't know, it is kind of weird, now to see, like, everybody told me, don't do this. Everybody told me, it's going to be tough, right? But, we persevered, and my team and my wife and hard work, everybody, around me, supporting me, it happened, right? And I'm blessed, humbled, all that for it. But it's, what's in my heart and the drive, right? It's not going to stop.
Right.
You can't stop. It's in a movie. Somebody said something about it. I think, I can't remember which movie it was, but there was a quote in the movie. It says, "It's an itch you can't scratch." Right. It's just not going to stop. And hopefully my boys are real young. Hopefully they're inspired by this. They have the same itch and keep going after it. Right. My team's got it. I know the team at our company. They're passionate about it.
Yeah. The itch gene. Identified genetic marker for that. I'm not sure. Would you have goals for AEM that, and if so, what would they be?
Well, obviously, to prosper and take care of everybody there.
Right.
That's numero one, right? But is it to be, a Fab 40? Not really. Not really. It's not about scale to me.
Yeah.
It's my ship's kind of sailing. My company's vision. We're kind of just going a unique way and doing our thing, and our success is measured. I tell everybody, like, don't keep score with others. We just keep score with ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we're not benchmarking. We're just doing our own thing,
Yeah. No, it's
healthy
it's kind of it's one of the difficulties, I think, when you start talking about vision, strategic planning, and that goal becomes a number, and it's and you want to have a culture that's not really about that number in particular, but it kind of works against each other.
Right. And you set a vision, you set a plan, and I could tomorrow get a phone call, and we might be in the, I don't know, chrome plating business or something.
Yeah.
I don't kind of want to do that, but I have good people that
Yeah.
are vendors to us that do that. But you never know, and you got this vision, and it's like, well, that's congruent to the vision, right, or not congruent to the vision, whatever. And that's what you go down a track that might not be the best option. Like the panel bending thing's a great analogy, right? And there's a lot of things we've done. It's just break out, boom, take a right-hand turn, get on the phone, say yes to somebody, get a machine tool there, or get something there, and go learn it and do it. That's how we got into machining too. Same thing.
Really? I thought that was more of maybe a historical thing.
It was a phone call. Phone call.
How long have you been at it?
Machining probably 15.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, but time, people that we were jobbing work out to couldn't do it for the price I wanted it done for. I'd give them fair targets. I know what it costs to do it.
Right.
They want to retire on every job.
Yeah.
It's not how it works in manufacturing. And then, hey, there's a sense of urgency. You got to be on the train with me. I need it. If you're going to be my partner in this, you got to do it for us. And my team knows that. And my team doesn't put up with people that don't perform for us. So then we vertically integrate usually, and that's how machining happened. It's like, we're going to do a lot more of this. Called an order to Haas on the phone, and it was there in, I think, 3 days.
No kidding.
And
Wow.
we were making chips in a week
No kidding.
from when I said, we're going to buy a machining center. We were
Wow.
drilling holes in a week.
That's funny.
Wow.
We had a spot for it, had a rigger there. It
Full
was-
5-axis
Yeah.
thing.
No, we went 3.
Three.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a call about chrome plating, please wait.
Yeah. And one of my
For Kirk's sake, we want you to wait. Yeah.
Anything else we want to add, Karen?
Nothing is worse than having an itch you can't scratch is from Blade Runner.
That's what I was gonna spit it out. What was that German actor? It was
Leon.
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer. Yeah.
character
That
was
was there. It
Leon.
was. I thought that was, but I didn't want to look dumb.
Were you? Yeah.
It was a great movie.
I don't know. You'd probably give me multiple choice. I don't know if I would guess that correctly.
Great movie.
Well, awesome. Congratulations on your success, Kirk.
Well, thank you guys for being a great
It's a real
partner
pleasure
to us
having you.
and
Thank you.
getting us all together for this stuff. And I can't say enough about Capstone and the FMA, how much it's changed my life. If I can say anything to anybody, like, find one of us and ask us to help. Ask us to get in the pit with all of us in the FMA, and like it's changed my life. I love being around you guys, and it's so much better to do business and being part of this with people.
Yeah, it's a good community to belong
Our
to.
suppliers and the people that are here just in Arizona today. It's just awesome, right? Our suppliers are here, and machine tool manufacturers are here, and how often you get to talk to an owner of $1 billion service center that delivers to me every day. That's 5 hours away, their corporate office, but they're right up the street from us. And to talk to the owner today and just, hey, person X is doing a great job, and thank you for what you do. And
It means something.
yeah, like that's what we're here for and about. And we can tighten up and be in an alignment that propels manufacturing in America, makes our country better.
Yeah.
It's a very friendly pet.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Metal fabricators don't bite.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Where can they find out more about American Engineering and Metalworking?
aemquality.com.
There you go.
Thank you.
And if you have any comments, criticisms, or complaints, send them to podcast@famamfg.org. We appreciate you listening, and goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to the Fabricator Morning Zoo.